Hi, I'm Santa Cruz County Clerk Gail Pellerin, and thank you for agreeing to serve in the polls on Election Day. We couldn't do it without you. This important training program will take you through the various processes and procedures on how to use our Sequoia voting equipment. Everything from setting the equipment up, using it on Election Day, troubleshooting, and then securing it and returning it election night. It's your opportunity to use this program to watch it over and over again, and we look forward to seeing you at the polls. Thanks so much.
Election Day in Santa Cruz County begins before sunrise for poll workers who arrive at their assigned polling place no later than 6 a.m.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Roger.
Morning.
I'll open that door for you.
It takes a coordinated effort by election officers and hundreds of poll workers to conduct a countywide election. In a countywide election, there are approximately 165 polling sites throughout the county, including the incorporated cities of Santa Cruz, Watsonville, Scotts Valley, and Capitola. Before Election Day, inspectors and electronic voting specialists have already taken a hands-on course to learn poll worker procedures along with voting rules and regulations. This video includes this short introduction for working at the polls. Also included in this program is a more detailed description of opening and closing procedures for the touchscreen and optical scan voting machines used in Santa Cruz County. When poll workers arrive in the morning, they will find some equipment already at the polling site, including the optical scanner base, voter check-in tables, and voting booths. Although it is not required, a precinct's inspector may set up some of the polling place signs and materials on the day before the election. The ballots and voting machines, however, will be brought by the inspector to the polling place on Election Day morning. They must be secured at all times. Poll workers prepare the polling site by posting signs and instructions, preparing the voting table, and setting up the voting machines and booths. Materials are broken out into kits and bags. There is an inside and outside polling place bag, an open kit, a table kit, and a closed kit. Here, a poll worker posts signs and instructions required inside the polling place while the inspector prepares the voter check-in table. At the same time, a poll worker is outside posting the American flag and signs and cones as required. And here, while a poll worker sets up the voting booths, two poll workers, other than the inspector, run the open polls procedure on the touchscreen and scanner and sign off on the open polls audit form. The voting equipment at the polling place is arranged so the touchscreen is set up at the end of the line of voting booths, with the accessible voting booth next to the touchscreen. The optical scanner with the attached ballot box is adjacent to the voter check-in table. The inspector makes sure all poll workers have signed the declaration form and payroll form and are wearing the provided badges while working at the polls. The inspector also schedules the worker breaks, so there is always a majority of poll workers working at the polls at all times. By arriving on time and working step by step through the instructions and forms found in the kits and bags, the polls are ready to open at 7 a.m. A detailed account of procedures is found in the Santa Cruz County Election Officers Manual and the Voting System Specialist Guides, which are available at the County Clerk's office or online at www.votescount.com. Procedural forms and checklists will be included in the polling place materials. Also, Election Day help or clarification is available by calling the inspector's hotline at 831-454-3081. Voting begins after the first voter zero vote check has been performed. Each voter's name and address is verified in the Alpha Index of precinct voters. A single red line is drawn through their name and address in the index. The voter then signs their name in the gray roster of voters. The line number where the voter signs is recorded to the left of the voter's name on the Alpha Index. The voter then receives a ballot with a privacy folder or a touchscreen user ballot ID card. In a primary election, the voter's ballot will correspond to their registered party as listed in the Alpha Index. Unaffiliated or crossover voters may vote in a party's primary if that party allows for crossover voting. A detailed description of rules and procedures, including voter processing, provisional voting, vote by mail ballots, spoiled or canceled ballots, instructions for voters that request assistance, and more is found in the Santa Cruz County Election Officers Manual. At exactly 8 p.m., an announcement is made by the inspector that the polls are closed. Any voter in line to vote at 8 p.m. will be allowed to vote. A voter who arrives after the polls close and insists on voting shall be allowed to vote provisionally, with the voter's arrival time written on the outside of the pink provisional ballot envelope. After closing the polls, all supplies, materials, and ballots are placed in their proper boxes, bags, and envelopes, and are sealed and signed for as required. Closing procedures and audits are performed on the scanner and touchscreen voting machines. The voting results from the scanner and the touchscreen are posted outside the polling place. Then, after closing and securing the polling site, the voting machines, along with the orange data transport bag and sealed ballots, are delivered to the assigned receiving center. Be prepared for a long but rewarding day as a poll worker. Your contribution as a poll worker is essential and greatly appreciated. And thank you for doing your part in continuing to provide accurate, unbiased, and secure elections in Santa Cruz County.